Before we start, please make sure to like this video and hit this subscribe button, so you never miss a story like this. And also comments where you are watching from, how many sons and daughters you have. Thanks.
My name is Jackson Cole, and 5 minutes before her garage went up in flames, she was trying to tow my fire truck. "You can't park that here," she screamed, stomping up the sidewalk like she owned every inch of this neighborhood. Hair so tight it looked like it was pulled back with rage, clipboard clutched like a weapon, HOA badge swinging like a sheriff's star she gave herself. "This is a private community and you're breaking code, section 14, paragraph 6, she yelled, pointing like she was sending me straight to jail. I turned slowly from the open cab of the truck, sweat still clinging to my neck from the last call we just ran, a 3-alarm blaze on the east side. Lives saved. Property protected. One kid pulled out unconscious from a smoke-filled bedroom and breathing again because we got there in time. And now, I'm here, exhausted, dehydrated, just trying to park outside my brother's house for 10 damn minutes, and this woman, this HOA Karen, is threatening to tow a fire truck. You even read what that says?" I asked her, tapping the chrome letters. "Rescue 42. Fire. Emergency Services. City-owned." She didn't even flinch. "I don't care what it says. You're not exempt from HOA policy. This is not a fire zone. This is not an emergency. And this," she leaned close, jabbing her bony finger against the side door, "this is trespassing." I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because if I didn't, I was going to say something that could get me fired. "Lady, I just came from dragging a burning mattress off a child's chest. I haven't eaten since last night. My back feels like someone took a bat to it. And you're really out here threatening to tow a fire truck?" That's when she snapped. She whipped out her phone like it was a gun. "I'm calling the towing company right now." I stepped off the rig, hands raised like I was walking into a standoff. "You're not calling anyone. This truck is staying here for 15 minutes. I'm getting water. I'm checking on my nephew. And if you have a problem with that, you can call the mayor, the fire chief, or God himself, because I'm not moving it." She hit record. "You're threatening me. You're getting aggressive. I'm documenting this for the HOA." That was her power move. Weaponizing victimhood while holding the actual power. I looked straight into her lens and said, "Put this in your little report. When you're choking on smoke and calling for help, don't expect me to come running." Was it too much? Maybe. But I'd had enough. Enough of people like her thinking a clipboard gave them the right to talk down to people who actually did something in this world. I walked into my brother's house and let the door close behind me. 10 minutes later, I heard the sirens. They weren't mine. They were from down the block, where smoke was already curling into the sky. I dropped the bottle of water in my hand and bolted out the door, my boots hitting the pavement as instinct took over. And when I turned the corner, her garage was on fire. The same woman. The same house. Her precious white SUV melting under orange flames while she stood frozen on the sidewalk, eyes wide, phone shaking in her hand. For the first time, she didn't have a clipboard. She didn't have a rule to cite. She had nothing. I didn't hesitate. I ran to the fire truck, my truck, still parked where I left it, because the tow company hadn't made it in time. I flipped the switch, threw open the compartment, pulled the hose. My crew wasn't with me. I didn't have backup. I didn't even have a turnout coat. But I had training. I had rage. And I had water. I turned the nozzle and let it blast. White smoke turned to gray. Flames hissed and receded. The air filled with steam and ash, but within minutes, I had the blaze under control. And when the fire engine finally pulled in, the official one, they found me standing in her driveway, soaked in sweat and smoke, looking her dead in the eye. She couldn't say a word. Couldn't look away. Because she knew. I saved her house. I saved her car. And I could have let it all burn. But I didn't. Because that's what we do. Even when you threaten us. Even when you look down on us. Even when you call us names and try to tow our trucks. We show up. We save you. And we walk away. Because that's the job. But don't think for 1 second I forgot what she said. And as I handed the hose off to my crew and walked past her, I said something I knew she'd never forget. Next time you try to tow a fire truck, maybe make sure your garage isn't planning a barbecue. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. For once. Karen was speechless. Stick around, because what happened after that garage fire? That's where the real story begins. And trust me, you're not going to believe how far she went next, or what I did to finally shut her down for good. I thought that would be the end of it. You know? I put out the fire. I did my job. I walked away thinking maybe, just maybe, she'd learned a lesson. That sometimes, rules aren't more important than people. That maybe the man she tried to humiliate had saved her life, and deserved a little grace. I was wrong. The next morning, I got a letter taped to my brother's door. Official HOA stationery. Thick paper. All caps. Fire truck parked in violation, formal warning issued. Next offense will result in fines and mandatory review. No apology. No thank you. No acknowledgement of what happened. Just punishment. I stood there reading it, the audacity sinking into my chest like a weight. She'd watched me run into flames. She'd seen the smoke curling around her windows, felt the heat against her face. And her response was, paperwork? So I did what anyone would do. I went to the next HOA meeting. I showed up in uniform. Not out of ego, out of principle. I sat in the back of that pastel conference room, fluorescent lights flickering, and watched Karen stand up like she was delivering the State of the Union. Her voice was all sugar and venom. As you all know, we've had an unfortunate incident involving unauthorized vehicles on our streets. While we're thankful for the timely response during yesterday's incident, we must remain vigilant and consistent in enforcing our neighborhood standards. She said it like I was some invading force, not the guy who saved her property from total destruction. I raised my hand. She ignored me. I stood up. You want to talk about consistency? Let's talk about common sense. You tried to tow a fire truck. That's not enforcing policy, that's insanity. The room went quiet. Neighbors shifted in their chairs. A few looked down, embarrassed. But not Karen. Oh, here we go, she said, with that smirk only people in fake power know how to wear. This isn't personal, Mr. Cole. This is about rules. No. It's about respect. I walked to the front of the room, slow and deliberate. I didn't ask for special treatment. I wasn't parking for fun. I was resting after saving a kid's life. But you saw a vehicle and saw a violation, not a human being behind it. She folded her arms. This neighborhood runs on order. And what happens when that order gets in the way of survival? I asked her. What happens when you're choking on smoke again, and the engine's 5 minutes late because you made a rule that blocked it from getting close? Her eyes flicked around the room. The HOA board members were listening now. One woman even looked a little shaken. I didn't write the rules, she said, weakly. No. But you enforce them like scripture until it's your house that's burning. I walked out after that. I didn't wait for applause. I wasn't there to win a debate. I just needed her and everyone else in that room to feel the truth. We're not the enemy. We're not the ones lowering your property values or messing up your holiday lights. We're the ones keeping this place safe while you're asleep. But that night? She escalated. Around midnight, someone keyed the side of Rescue 42. Scraped the paint like they were trying to cut the word hero out of it. They slashed a tire. Left a note. No special treatment. Not in this neighborhood. I knew it was her. Nobody else hated me that much. Nobody else had that much to lose from the truth getting out. I wanted to report it, but something told me this was deeper than policy now. This was pride. And pride like hers only stops when it burns out. And it would. Because Karen had just declared war on the one person who could save her again. And this time? I wasn't going to hold back. I didn't retaliate, not in the way she expected. I didn't post about the vandalism, didn't show up to scream at her porch, didn't demand an investigation. That's not my style. Karen wanted a public fight. She wanted me to lose control, to look like the unstable fire guy causing drama in her perfect little HOA world. But I've seen flames before. I've learned how to let them burn just long enough to collapse the structure holding them up. So instead of fighting back, I made a phone call. I spoke with my captain, told him everything about the harassment, the threats, the slashed tires, the HOA targeting us. And then I got permission to bring in the big guns. Not punishment. Not revenge. Just awareness. The next morning, I arranged a safety inspection for the neighborhood. Full crew. Full uniforms. Fire truck parked legally, right in front of Karen's house. Engine purring, lights flashing, not an emergency, just a reminder. We walked from home to home, checking hydrants, making sure garages were clear, advising families about escape plans. And guess whose house failed? Karen's. Overloaded outlets. Blocked attic vents. Flammable chemicals stored next to the water heater. Her entire garage was a ticking time bomb. The same garage I'd dragged hoses through just days earlier. The same one she lectured me about ruining the landscaping over. We wrote her up. We documented everything. She had 14 days to comply or face city fines. And this time, she was the one humiliated. I didn't even need to speak. The look on her face as we walked away, the tight, sour grin melting off, said enough. But still, I gave her a nod. Not smug, not angry. Just, final. We're not your enemies. But we're done playing nice. That's when the neighborhood started whispering. See, people like Karen rule by fear, by making others feel like they'll be punished for speaking up. But once they see someone stand up to her and walk away stronger, it flips a switch. You could feel it in the air. The other residents started asking questions. About why the HOA fees were so high. About why they'd never seen financial breakdowns. About where Karen's husband really was, the one she always said was traveling for business. Turns out, he wasn't traveling. He was gone. Had been for a year. Left her after she tried to sue a neighbor's landscaper for stepping on her begonias. Moved to Arizona with someone less intense. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just about me. This wasn't about the fire truck. Karen was spiraling. She needed control. Because everything else in her life was unraveling behind those pristine shutters. But the tighter she gripped, the more people slipped through her fingers. 3 families petitioned to reduce her authority. One old man on the board actually stood up and said, maybe if she spent less time writing citations and more time listening, we wouldn't be having these meetings every week. That broke something in her. She marched to my brother's house that night. Pounded on the door. I answered it, still in my undershirt, holding a plate of leftovers. She didn't care. I know what you're doing, she hissed. Turning everyone against me. Undermining the rules. Stirring up drama. Well, it won't work. I didn't blink. You already lost, Karen. Not because I'm fighting you, but because I don't have to. She narrowed her eyes, like a snake searching for a last strike. You're not welcome here anymore. And I just smiled. Funny. That's what your burning garage said too. She left in silence. For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. But I knew it wasn't over. People like her never go out quietly. No, the fire was building again. And this time, it would reach far beyond her garage. I wish I could say that was the end of it, that Karen slunk off into the shadows after being called out. But no. She wasn't done. People like her don't walk away. They scheme. They simmer. And when they feel cornered, they go nuclear. 1 week later, I came home to a bright red notice stapled to my brother's front door. Unapproved modification, HOA violation. You'd think we built a helipad on the roof. All we'd done was repaint the mailbox. Black, not brown. That was her final straw? A mailbox? But it didn't stop there. She started slapping violations on every house that had supported me. Tall grass. Trash cans not brought in within 30 minutes of pickup. A bike left out on the lawn for 10 minutes? $50 fine. She turned the whole street into a war zone. Kids weren't playing outside anymore. Neighbors stopped waving. Everyone was on edge, and all because of one woman desperate to win a fight no one else was having. And then, the fire happened. I was cooking dinner when the alarm call came through. Residential garage fire. Same street. Immediate response. The address made my stomach drop. Karen's house. I didn't hesitate. I was out the door before my crew even suited up. Engine screaming, lights slicing through the dark. And when we pulled up, it was chaos. Flames were pouring out of her garage, thick black smoke curling into the sky. The same garage we'd inspected. The same garage we warned her about. And now it was eating itself alive. And there she was. Standing in the middle of the road. Screaming. Crying. Powerless. When she saw me step out of the truck in full gear, her face twisted. No, she spat. Not him. Anyone but him. I didn't say a word. Just grab the hose. Because here's the thing, firefighters don't get to choose who deserves saving. We don't stop and ask if the homeowner's been kind or cruel. When the flames come, we fight them every time. Even for the ones who try to destroy us. The moment we got water on the fire, something popped inside the garage, a shelf full of old paint thinner, maybe. The blast sent heat ripping down the driveway. My crew held steady, pushing through, knocking it down before it could spread to the house. We saved most of it. Not that she thanked us. Not a single word. Not even eye contact. But as we packed up, one of my guys found something half melted near the back of the garage, a laptop, fused to the countertop. He picked it up with gloved hands, turned to me, and said, "You're gonna want to see this." It was her HOA records. Backups. Every email. Every fine. Every photo she took for evidence. And every single dollar of misused funds. Turns out, Karen hadn't just been using her authority to punish people, she'd been paying herself. Filing fake landscaping invoices. Issuing maintenance checks to companies that didn't exist. Her HOA power trip wasn't just petty. It was criminal. And here's the kicker. The fire marshal traced the cause of the fire to an overloaded extension cord running multiple space heaters in the garage, in direct violation of the safety warnings we gave her. She'd ignored everything. Every single red flag. All for pride. So while her garage smoldered, the police arrived. Not for the fire. But for fraud. It was surreal. Watching her stand there, surrounded by the very people she used to threaten, and this time, no one stepped in to protect her. No clipboard. No bylaws. Just her, in a robe and slippers, crying as the officers read her rights. And for the first time, I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No revenge. Just relief. Relief that maybe, just maybe, this street could finally breathe again. The next HOA meeting? Packed. Karen's resignation? Signed under pressure. A new board? Voted in unanimously. And guess who they asked to head the Community Safety Committee? Yeah. Me. The same fire truck nuisance they wanted to tow. Funny how fast things change when the smoke clears. You know, when it was all over, I stood in my driveway, looking at the charred remains of Karen's garage from a distance. Sirens were gone. Neighbors were outside again. The silence after a fire is always the loudest. It makes you think. Makes you feel everything you held in while the world burned. I didn't feel like I'd won. I didn't feel like a hero. I just felt tired. Like every ounce of energy I'd spent proving myself to someone who never deserved my time had finally run dry. But then my little niece, the same one Karen yelled at for drawing with chalk on the sidewalk, she ran up to me and said, "Uncle Jake, are you a real superhero now?" And I laughed, because I hadn't smiled in weeks. "No, sweetheart," I said. "I'm just a guy trying to do the right thing." She looked me dead in the eye and replied, "Well, you look like a superhero to me." That was it. That one line. That's when it hit me. I wasn't fighting for a driveway. I wasn't fighting to prove I belonged here. I was fighting for peace. For safety. For respect. For every neighbor too scared to speak up, every kid told to stay inside, every honest homeowner who paid their dues while Karen played queen with our community. I didn't win anything. We took it back. Together. A week after Karen's arrest, the neighborhood changed overnight. Lawns started to grow a little wild again and nobody cared. Bikes were left on sidewalks. Sidewalk chalk was back. Laughter returned like an old friend we hadn't seen in years. We even threw a block party. The first in, maybe ever. People brought food. Music played. And when someone asked me to speak, I kept it simple. This neighborhood didn't need a boss. It needed each other. Let's remember that. But the best part? That fire truck, the one Karen tried to tow? It stayed. We parked it right in the community center lot. With permission. With pride. And every Saturday, the kids come by to sit in the cab, pull the horn, take pictures. We give mini fire safety lessons. We teach them that firefighters don't just put out fires, we prevent them. That protecting a place isn't just about hoses and ladders, it's about heart. Karen? Last I heard, she took a plea deal. 3 years probation. Restitution. Community service, ironically, for fire safety seminars. Life has a cruel sense of humor sometimes. But I don't think about her much anymore. I think about the dad down the street who no longer hides his rusty grill behind a tarp. I think about the elderly couple finally enjoying their garden gnomes without fines. I think about my niece, who now tells all her friends that her uncle saved the bad lady's house just to prove her wrong. And she's right. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need Karen to love me or even like me. I just needed her to see what I stood for. And deep down, I think she did. You know, people always ask me, would you still have saved her house if you'd known everything she did? And I always say, absolutely, because who we are in the worst moments, that's what defines us. Not our titles. Not our grudges. But our actions. Karen tried to burn down everything good in this neighborhood, and in the end, it was her own fire that exposed the truth. So yeah, she tried to tow my fire truck. But now she knows what it's really for. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. If this story hit you, if you've ever faced someone who used their power to tear you down, share this. Let them see that no matter how loud they shout, the truth will always rise through the smoke. Let them watch what happens when real heroes don't back down.